Joining us right now in the Hyundai Texans radio studio, it is Coach David Culley. Coach, great to have you with us. I know yesterday did not go the way you wanted it to, but I know you talk to the team all the time. What do you tell the team after that, going into the bye? I know this group has a great attitude, and they'll keep it together.
Well, the thing about it was we were in a football game that all the way to the very end we had a chance to win in spite of the turnovers that we did and in spite of the turnovers that we got, the takeaways that we got. Unfortunately, it didn't match up. And obviously when you get 5 turnovers in a football game, you would expect to win a football game. But when you're turning it over 4 times yourself, it kind of is a wash. And basically, even with that happening, Mark, at the end of that ball game, with all of the negative things that happened with us, we still had a chance in the end to win the game. And then what happens is we turn it over again to keep ourselves from having a chance to win the football game. And we've just got to keep coaching that, keep coaching against that. And other than that, we understand that there's 2 things that are major in winning football games in this league. The first one is eliminating critical penalties. And yesterday we had 1. We had 8 penalties yesterday, but basically only 6 of those penalties really were penalties that you would like to not have. But out of those 6, one of those penalties was a 3rd down stop that we got where we jumped off sides. We had them stopped. We put them back on the field, and they go down and they get a field goal.
Right.
And then the 2 turnovers that we had, 2 interceptions, they end up getting 14 points off of. And we look at it and say, if we don't turn the ball over, we don't have that penalty, that team does not score on us. And if we take care of the ball, we may score 3 or 4 times. And the takeaway from that is that we have to take care of the ball. And we haven't done that like we needed to.
Yeah, I would say one of those 8 penalties was the offensive pass interference. It was a little bit unfortunate, but I'm John Harris saying that, not Coach Culley, because I don't want you getting in trouble, Coach. Turnovers, okay, there were 4 of them. I feel like, Coach, there are times where a turnover is maybe more than just a turnover. Obviously, Jacobs' strip sack was one of those coming back our way. But the first drive, you have such success. That interception, I know it didn't take the wind out of anybody's sails on the sidelines because you got to keep playing, and you did. But was there this kind of feeling like, dang it, we needed to close that with at least a 3 with the way that we drove the ball in that first drive?
It was very unfortunate, John. The thing that hurt about that one was this, is that if we don't have the turnover, whether we kick a field goal or score a touchdown is irrelevant. When we turned it over, they got the ball back. Momentum switched for them. They went down and they scored, where that would have never happened had we not turned the ball over. So just like you said, when you turn it over, it's more than just turn it over. It becomes a momentum swing thing. And it was there. We had taken the ball down, and I'm talking about we had a beautiful drive going. And we had a 3rd, and not 1, but a 3rd and a ball. And it happens.
Let's talk about the passing game here with Tyrod, Coach, because there were some things that were working well for you yesterday, especially early on that drive when you took it into the red zone. Let's start there. What worked well for you? What did you like that you want to see more of moving forward?
Mark, we executed. Guys did their job. He did his job. He took care of business. He executed the way we needed to execute. Up front, we were doing things. We were running the football. We were having some success doing basically what we wanted to. And then all of a sudden we got in a situation where we make that mistake. And when you make that mistake like that, it kills all momentum. It kills the drive. And it was the first time we touched the ball. It's been a long time since we've gotten the ball like that and taken it down and did what we did with it. And we knew we had points then. And then obviously when the turnover came, it was just a big momentum turner for us.
Sometimes I think in baseball, a pitcher might not have his best stuff on a given day. We hear that expression a lot when a pitcher has a subpar outing. With Tyrod, do you think that he didn't have his best stuff, he was out of sync maybe because of all the time off? How did you assess his performance yesterday in that department?
Well, it was uncharacteristic of him because he's never had a game like that in his career where he's thrown 3 interceptions that I can remember. And also, too, he had been around. He had been at practice with us. He had been there. I don't want to make any excuses or anything like that. He had been out for 6 weeks. But when he came back in, after that first drive, he was sharp. He was sharp. He was executing. He was doing things. Uncharacteristic of him, he just made some bad decisions, and those bad decisions end up coming back and haunting you.
Coach, you said something in your presser that got me thinking. And I've been around coaching all my life, and I don't know if I've ever really thought about this, but your opinion on this. You mentioned talking to Tyrod today and just talking to him and just what you have to go through, being part counselor, part sounding board, part everything as a coach. How much of coaching do you think is what we all see on Sunday versus what goes on the rest of the week?
Well, it's more than just coaching and teaching. Sometimes you have to be a psychologist.
Right.
We're human. We're all human, and we all go through things. And he's a very prideful guy, just like a bunch of guys on our football team are. And that was not him. That was not the way he anticipated doing things. That is not the way he has done things in the past. And I could just see that look on his face like, okay, little kind of bewilderment a little bit.
Yeah.
And basically our job is also to make sure the understanding is we got that next play mentality. And that's why at the end of that ball game, until we had the fumble at the very end, we felt like that he would get us down the field and get us an opportunity to get a touchdown and go for 2 to tie the football game.
What about the extra pressure that they sending extra people, Coach, and the difficulty handling that at times? What can you do about that in the future? How did you see it yesterday as it was playing out?
Mark, we knew they were going to do that. They've done it previously. We had a plan for it. We just didn't execute that plan. And part of that was the fact that, it was his first time back, and here was come the pressure. He knew the pressure was coming. We just didn't get it executed. It's things that he has done before in the past. Mm-hmm. I think now that that's happened, if that comes up again, and people do it, that's not the first time we've seen that. We've got it a few times then, and you're going to get it until you beat it. And we didn't beat it, so we kept getting it. But we had a plan for it. We just didn't execute getting it done.
Coach, before the game, I saw Tua out on the field, and he was talking to his quarterback's coach. I didn't think really anything of the fact that, they're going through script. He's getting ready to go. I know you guys prepare for both, but was it any sort of shock that Tua was not the starter yesterday, that it was Jacoby Brissett? And with that, what did Brissett present to you guys that maybe Tua didn't, or vice versa?
We knew before we came out on the field when the inactive thing was put up that they put him up, but he wasn't on it. But he was on it as the backup.
Right.
So we knew that he had the problem with his finger, and so with Brissett, he had played before. Tua's been out 3 or 4 games before with injuries. So it really we didn't change anything because of him or Tua been in the game. Right. They basically ran the same offense. They did not do as many RPO stuff that they normally do with Tua as they did with him. But basically it didn't affect us at all, the fact that it was him instead of Tua.
Yeah. How about your defensive front able to get so much pressure into their backfield? Strip sacks, you stopped the run yesterday very well, holding them under 50 yards rushing.
Well, Mark, they've been doing that all year long as far as being able to get pressure on the quarterback. We were much better yesterday in the run game than we have been in the past. It was an emphasis going into the game of making sure we stayed in our gaps. They did a great job of that all week, and basically we're going to carry that through because we're getting ready to, in 2 weeks, play a football team that basically will run the football quite a bit. That's what they do. And basically it was good to see that moving forward that we were able to do that.
Coach, when you have a guy or guys that maybe haven't been playing a lot, or maybe they played and then they didn't, and then maybe they're back in, guys like Eric Murray, Neville Hewitt, when you see those guys go out on the field and make plays like that, what does it say to you as a coach to see guys go out and make those plays, that they weren't pouting about getting in the game? Once they got in the game, they went out and they made plays. I think Neville led the team in 9 tackles. You talk about triggering against the run. Boy, he was there against the run. What do you think about those guys and how they responded? And what do you like to see when guys do respond after being benched or not playing a lot, now getting on the field and doing some things?
That's the kind of locker room we have, John.
Yeah.
I mean, when Nick put this thing together, we brought in the kind of people that we knew were selfless. They understood what we're all about. It is about the team. It is always about the next man up. And basically, hey, when you're doing your job, you play. When you're not doing your job, somebody else is going to get that. Right. And basically, when that happens is you get ready, just like you're the starter, and you don't ever know when that time's going to come again with an injury. And for some of those guys, they've been in and they've been out, and they came back in, and they played just like they've been starters all year long, which they have been before. Yeah. So that doesn't surprise me. That's the kind of guys that we have on this football team. And moving forward, those are the kind of guys that are basically going to get us to where we want to be when we get things right.
Take us through a couple of plays here, Coach. Tyrod's pick at the end of the half where he tried to throw it out of bounds or whatever, that was very uncharacteristic for him because he didn't put enough on it or whatever. What was the conversation like with you and he on the sideline? What can you share with us? And want to get to some running plays and things like that as well.
Well, basically, when he came to the sideline, he just says, "Coach, I'm sorry. I tried to get it out of bounds. I didn't throw it. He was coming to his left.
Right.
He's got his right hand up. He's been chased, and he just kind of flipped it. He didn't flip it like he needed to flip it just to make sure it went out of bounds. And obviously, the guy made a nice play on the ball, and unfortunately, they end up scoring a touchdown after that.
And running the ball, I mean, there were some lanes early on. You had a few pops in the ground game, so that was encouraging. I know Scotty got hurt during the course of the game. I know you wanted to see him a little bit yesterday, too, to see what he could do.
Yeah, well, I think what happened, too, with our run game, too, was having Tyrod back also, he's part of that.
Yep.
And that actually helps because you have to account for him, too, also. And our line did a good job up front of being able to get our backs to the line of scrimmage. We got some nice little creases in there. And unfortunately, Mark and John, is the turnovers. When you have those turnovers and you give the ball up, you're not able to consistently do those things. And obviously, if we were able to keep the ball longer, you would have seen us be able to do more of that. But that's why it's so critical to be able to protect the ball.
Coach, you played the position, quarterback. You know it really, really well. When you have a different center in front of you, Jimmy yesterday takes over at center. He played yesterday. Tyrod's never played with him before. I'm not saying Tyrod would blame that or anything, but how did that work? How did you feel with Jimmy and Tyrod? Did you feel pretty confident? You had a rookie center, but you had a veteran quarterback to go along with it. How did you feel about that?
Nope.
That battery, if you will.
No problem at all. We had practiced all week with him.
Yeah.
He'd done a good job in practice. Again, we go back to the next man up. It doesn't matter who's under that center or who's at right tackle, left guard, right guard. You go and you just play. And I thought he did a good job of that yesterday.
Yeah.
All right, well, obviously you have the bye coming up here, Coach, and it's time to self-scout, right? You do some of that during the bye. Talk about that for us and how that goes down with you and the coaches.
Mark, what we do is we go back and we look at all the games that we've played. We look at ourselves very hard and see what we do well, what we don't do well, and kind of take those things and say, okay, these are the things that we're not doing very well. Let's not do these things moving forward. Let's figure out what we're doing well at and then concentrate on doing those things and put our players in position to be successful doing that. And we do that offensively, defensively, and in special teams. And then moving forward, we kind of got a pretty good idea of what we're good at, especially after 9 ball games, of what we need to do and what moving forward, what we need to do. And that's what you do with the self-scout.
Coach, with you being the head coach, how do you examine those 3 units? Do you take a really deep dive into it? Do you take kind of a 30,000-foot view? What kind of your thought about going through those 3 units, being head coach of the team?
Dig right down into it. We sit down as a staff and we go through it. We look at it critically.
Yeah.
We look at ourselves very hard, and we say, okay, this is what we need to do. We don't need to do this. We do that, but we always do that as a staff, and I'm all in it knee deep.
Okay, when you're watching games, Coach, I know I can't watch a game normally anymore because I call out the formations or what the plays are doing, all that kind of stuff. As a coach, do you watch game? How do you watch games? Like, I mean, we'll have a bye week, so there'll be football on. I would imagine you're probably going to watch football. Can you watch it with just a entertainment eye, or are you always watching it for, hey, I kind of like what this offensive play is, or hey, this coach handled this situation? How do you kind of watch a game for fun, as I say in air quotes?
Yeah, listen, when you're 1-8, it's not fun watching any football games. But even if we were 8-1, the way I do that is that, listen, we get a lot of football. I'm a football coach. I'm a football 24/7.
Right.
If I'm watching a game, I'm basically going to watch a game, whether it's college, pros, or whatever it may be. It's going to be because I'm looking at it as a fan. I'm not looking at it as a coach.
I'm prepping for that team.
Right. No. Now, the only time I do that is that when you're seeing a team that you're getting ready to play or whatnot, you look at them a little differently than you would if you were just watching the game just to kind of see how it goes.
Yeah.
But for the most part, for me, I'm not a big football watcher during the season.
Yeah.
I'm not a big football watcher during the playoffs when you're not in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I could care less. I'm probably going to be at a movie somewhere,
Get away from it?
Right.
Will you get away from it this week in the bye week?
A little bit. We'll stay in here as a staff through our first part of the week, and we'll self-evaluate ourselves, and then we'll take the weekend off and come back on Monday and be ready to go.
How hard is it to unplug, though? You just talked about some of that, but mentally, I got to imagine it's still always on your mind, and you're trying to problem solve, and you lay awake thinking of things you can do differently or whatever the case may be.
Mark, you're exactly right. And I try to make sure I do this, especially with the time off when you're home, is that I go home and I try not to say anything to my wife about what I'm doing at work.
Yeah.
Unless she asks me. And then when she does ask me, I try to say, not right now. I am off. Please, not right now. But for the most part, you do get away. It's good to recharge. It's good to recharge. And especially when you're going through kind of what we're going through right now, you want to kind of get away with it, look at it, kind of take a deep breath and come back. And after we've done all our self-evaluation, go back knee deep in it and do what we need to do to change things.
Yeah, because you get back Monday, you'll have a practice, right?
Yes, we will.
Then Tuesday, the regular day off. So it's kind of like the way you followed up the Thursday night game in a sense.
Exactly right.
All right. So is the game plan in on Monday, or is that just a day to get back and maybe make some of the adjustments off the self-scout? How do you handle that?
We'll take a peek at the Titans this week before we take a break.
Yeah.
And then, but the thing about you don't ever want to do is, because obviously they have another game, you don't want to peak too soon. You know, you don't want to get too into it right now. But we'll use it as a normal week once we get back, although we would have had a few days to kind of maybe get a little extra peek at them. But basically, it'll be just a regular week for us once we get back on Monday.
Coaches' wives are pretty special, no?
Special?
Yeah.
Completely special.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about you have no idea in this business, especially when you're going through what we're going through right now, how when you go home and you see that smile. And not only the wives, the dogs and the cats and everything you got, because the dogs and the cats really don't care.
Yeah.
Right.
My wife does, but she also understands that when things aren't right, that, hey, look, I got you back.
Well, the kids don't care either until they get to a certain age, right?
You're exactly right.
Then they start to really care. I get peppered with questions when I get home.
Hey, listen, Mark.
Press conference.
Mine are all gone right now, so I'm good. I do get phone calls, but I don't have to answer the phone call, though.
I can imagine, though, when you have teenagers, they always want to know stuff. Now they're probably texting, I would think, support messages and things of that magnitude.
Well, for the most part, support messages, but, they also think they can coach, too.
Have you ever gotten a suggestion from a family member and you're like, hey, wait a second, maybe that's pretty good?
Well, listen, the first thing is I'll say this, and my wife would be mad at me for saying this, but when I come to the games on Sunday now, I'm at the hotel the night before the game, right? Yeah. She drives in with a friend of hers.
Yeah.
After a tough loss, I am so happy that I'm by myself going back home because she's already gone. Yeah. Because then I don't have to at least get to unwind for about 30 minutes by the time I get home. And then here it comes. But I'm ready then.
Yeah. By that point, you're ready to go.
I'm ready then.
Oh, my. All right, so next up is Tennessee. It's next weekend after the bye, and you're going back to Nashville. So the Vanderbilt Alumni Association, how much contact do they have with you? Is it like a subpoena when you get back into town coaching against the Titans?
Mark, not really. They understand the situation.
Okay.
I do get a bunch of texts. They understand the situation. They know we're busy. They know when we travel, and I always let all my friends know this. When we travel, it's a business trip.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is a business trip. Although there is a few minutes there where people will come by and say hello and whatnot. But for the most part, it's a business trip. But I get all kind of texts.
What's the drive to Sparta from Nashville?
About an hour and a half.
That's not too bad.
Not too bad at all.
How many Spartans are there going to be? What is the mascot of Sparta?
It's a warrior.
Okay,
Sparta warrior.
They couldn't do Sparta Spartans. That's just
not
too
Spartans.
much.
No. Especially after Michigan State losing this week, being undefeated. I wouldn't want a Spartan. No, Sparta warriors.
So
warriors.
how many Sparta natives will be there on next Sunday?
Well, I'll say this too. There are some Sparta natives that are Titan fans.
Oh, so, that's true.
So they'll be there too. But I also have a pretty good group of people that will be down there that will be in Texan gear.
All right, what was it like being at Vanderbilt when you played? What was the atmosphere like, the SEC like back then? How was that?
Well, listen to this. Anytime in the SEC, and I'll go ahead and say this because when I was coaching in the SEC as well as playing in the SEC, when you went out to recruit, guys and coaches from the SEC would go use this on recruits. They would say, speaking about asking how it is. First of all, it's more than just a game.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like an event, But they used to go out on a recruiting trip, and they would say, we're in the SEC. You know that there's only 3 conferences in all of football. The AFC, the NFC, and the SEC. So they always use that in recruiting.
wow.
So I always used to get flack for that when I was coaching in college at other places, and they would say that they would use that against me. They would say, he used to coach and play in the SEC, so he knows there's only 3 conferences in all of football.
What was your favorite place to go play, other than obviously playing at Vandermeer? Where was your favorite place to go on the road?
Actually, there were 3 places that I was able to go to when I was at Vanderbilt that I loved visiting: the Air Force Academy, the Naval Academy, and West Point.
Really? Wow.
Unbelievable experience.
I've heard that West Point, and I've never done a game
No.
there, but I've heard it's the best atmosphere that no one really talks about. Well, not no one, but a lot of people don't know about.
Off that Hudson River, I mean, such beautiful. All 3 of those places, but there's something special about that.
Yeah, Air Force is cool. I took a baseball recruiting trip there many years ago, and they were trying to sell me on the fact that, well, the altitude here is high, so you can hit a lot of home runs.
Right.
It's like, that sounds good, but
you know what else, too, you can do there? You can hit the golf ball a lot further, too.
That's true.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
true. That's why Marc wants to go. Not me, though. Not me. How's your short game?
No game at all right now.
Not right now, obviously, but
Well, that's probably the best part of my game, because when I put a driver in my hand,
yeah.
first of all, I swing really hard. All right. I don't know any better.
Yeah.
And I've been told to slow down.
Yeah.
I've swung so hard for so long. When I slow down, it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I swing hard, and when I hit it a long ways. Unfortunately, it doesn't always go down the fairway.
It's one of those things. You don't know where it's going.
I don't know where it's going.
All right, so what else during the bye here? Any horror movies? What's going to happen?
Well, I'm not really sure yet. There's a couple of movies that I haven't seen yet that I want to see, that I want to stream, that have been coming out. So I still have not seen the James Bond movie, which I need to see.
Well, it's 2 hours and 43 minutes apparently. So
Well,
I'm with you, Coach. I love Bond, and I haven't seen it yet because
I have not.
I got to budget the time.
You're gonna have to watch it like a series. Like, okay, the first hour is one, part of a series. This is the next episode. That's really the only way you can watch anything, even during a bye week.
Well, listen to this though. If you give me the popcorn, you give me the nachos, I'll sit there, and if I fall asleep, I'll just get it again the next time.
Yeah, I've been falling asleep lately with my computer on my chest too, but it's not with popcorn and nachos.
I
though.
hear you.
Is that the go-to?
That's the go-to.
Absolutely.
Movies, popcorn, and nachos, and really nice butter on the popcorn.
Yeah. You gotta have.
Listen, I say that, but our nutritionist lad and those guys
he'll
in
get
here,
mad.
don't
They
tell
won't
them I
like
said
that
anything
at
like
all.
that. Not at
No.
all. Not
Well,
at
Coach, best of luck preparing during the bye, self-scouting, and then whatever time you get off. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you both very much.